The Ottoman Times of Trouble, 1590–1650 Part 4. In 1626, Mehmed Pasha's successor as Grand Vizier, Hafiz Ahmed Pasha, besieged Baghdad for several months. After numerous skirmishes around the city and a major defeat in June, a Janissary rebellion forced him to withdraw. The war in eastern Anatolia and the Caucasus was no more successful. Still nominally an Ottoman governor, Mehmed Pasha the Abkhaz disobeyed an order to march against the Safavid army besieging eHISTORY. Instead, he attacked and defeated the Ottoman forces in the region of Erzurum, killing the Janissaries in the fortress. It was not until 1628 that a full army under the command of the Grand Vizier Husrev Pasha was able to trap him in Erzurum. Realizing that he could not resist a siege, the Abkhaz surrendered and asked for quarter. The Sultan uncharacteristically forgave him and, using a traditional method of pacifying Anatolian rebels, appointed him Governor-General of Bosnia. The defeat of Mehmed Pasha the Abkhaz, the renewal in 1629 of the Treaty of Żywitrok and the engagement of Austria in the 30 Years' War left the Sultan free to use all his forces against Iran. The Grand Vizier's expedition was, in its early stages, remarkably successful. Ottoman forces overcame the Iranians in skirmishes near Baghdad, and then, in 1630, the Grand Vizier defeated a Safavid army at Myraban and, as it retreated, took Hamadan and Darguzan, intending to proceed to Ardabil and Kazvin. It was here, however, that he received a reminder that the Sultan wished, above all, to retake Baghdad, and so he returned and laid siege to the city. After the failure of the general assault in November 1630, Husrev Pasha broke off the siege and returned to Mosul, allowing Shah Abbas's successor, Shah Safi, to reverse the Ottoman conquests. For his failure to capture Baghdad, the Sultan removed Husrev Pasha and replaced him with Hafiz Ahmed. Husrev Pasha, it seems, had been popular with the Janissaries and the 6 divisions of Palace cavalrymen. His removal was the spark which led to a violent rebellion that spread beyond the capital to the cavalrymen in Anatolia. With the encouragement of the Vizier, Recep Pasha, these men came to the palace in February 1632 and demanded the heads of the Grand Vizier, the Chief Mufti and several of Murad's closest associates. To pacify the rebels, the Sultan released Hafiz Ahmed to his death, replaced the Chief Mufti and appointed Recep Pasha Grand Vizier. At the same time, he ordered the execution of the former Grand Vizier, Husrev Pasha, in Tokat. His death removed a favorite of the rebels, but the arrival of his head in Istanbul inflamed the situation. In March, the insurgents demanded further executions and, more dangerously for the Sultan, the custody of the princes Bayezid, Suleiman, Qasim, and Ibrahim. On the executions, the Sultan gave way to the insurgents' demands, while Recep Pasha and the new chief Mufti agreed to stand surety for the princes. It was at this point that the rebels considered dethroning the Sultan. However, some of the soldiery, including the Aga of the Janissaries, remained loyal to the Sultan, and it was he who informed Murad of the role of Recep Pasha and Janbuladolu Mustafa Pasha in inciting the rebellion. The Sultan suspected Recep Pasha in particular and, in May, summoned him to the palace and had him strangled. In his place he appointed Tabani Yassi, the flat-footed, Mehmed Pasha. When, however, the cavalrymen heard that Murad had stopped part of their pay, the rebellion flared up again. This time the Sultan did not capitulate, but called their leaders in groups to the palace and, from each group, extracted an oath of allegiance. Then he counterattacked, ordering the immediate execution of captured rebels in Istanbul and the provinces, and the cessation of all payments that did not form part of their regular salaries. The defeat of the rebellion saved Murad's throne, but it did not end his troubles. It required an expedition under Kushuk, Little, Ahmed Pasha to suppress brigands in Anatolia and end the rebellion of Fakhr al-Din in the Lebanon. Then, in 1633, fire destroyed a large part of Istanbul, the last of a series of calamities which seemed to have deeply affected the Sultan and to have made him suspicious of anyone in his entourage. In 1633, he banished his advisor, Kochi Bey, and, in the following year, advised by his mother, executed the Chief Mufti, his aide. In 1635, he executed Prince Suleiman and, in 1638, the princes Qasim and Bayezid, precipitating a crisis of succession in the dynasty, as he had no surviving sons of his own. In addition to frequent and often arbitrary executions, in 1633, with the encouragement of a powerful group of fundamentalist Muslims, 59 he imposed a ban on coffee and tobacco. During this period, the penalty for smoking was death. Murad's violent measures did, however, restore order in the empire and allowed him to recover some of the lost military glory of His ancestors. In 1632, Shah Safi invaded Georgia and then laid siege to Van. In the following year, an army under the command of the Grand Vizier, Mehmed Pasha, assembled at Üsküdar and advanced as far as Diyarbakir. By September, however, the Iranians had lifted the siege, and the outbreak of hostilities with Poland led to the armies. Recall, the continuing Tatar raids into Poland and Cossack attacks on Ottoman territory were the cause of tension, and, in 1633, tension led to fighting on the river Dniester and an Ottoman campaign under Mehmed Pasha the Abkhaz. Mehmed Pasha's assaults on Kamenets and the Cossack fortifications were unsuccessful, and negotiations began. When these led nowhere, Murad appointed Murtaza Pasha to lead a Polish campaign, with full powers to make war or peace. He left Edirne in 1634, and formalized an agreement with Poland. The Ottomans were to remove the Tatar tribes from the Belgrade steppes, and the Poles to restrain the Cossacks. The peace freed Murad to undertake a campaign against Iran. In 1635, at the same time as he sent Uzun Piyala on a naval expedition against the Cossacks, the Sultan left Üsküdar in person at the head of an army. By the end of July, he had reached Yerevan and, within a week, the Safavid commander had surrendered and offered his services to the Ottoman Sultan. On the fall of the city, Murad sent Kenan Pasha to take Ehiska, while the main body of the army proceeded to Tabriz. Here, however, the Sultan fell ill and returned to Van, with the Safavid army shadowing but not attacking. At Izmit, on the return to Istanbul, Kenan Pasha joined the Sultan with news of the capture of Ehiska. The campaign, it appeared, had been successful until, in April 1636, Shah Safi reconquered Yerevan and, shortly afterwards, defeated and killed Kushuk Ahmed Pasha near Mihraban. Murad did not immediately respond to the losses but, finally, on May 8, 1638, led his army from Istanbul, in the company of the chief mufti and the admiral, to Baghdad. On his progress through Anatolia and the Arab provinces, he ordered the seizure and summary execution of brigands and other miscreants. In mid-October, the army camped outside Baghdad and, on 24th of December, the Safavid governor, Bektash Khan, surrendered. In January 1539, Murad entered the city. 60 On the return journey, he fell ill at Diyarbakir and did not reach the capital until June. In the meantime, the Grand Vizier, Tayyar, the Mercurial, Mehmed Pasha, negotiated the Treaty of Kayseri-Shirin with an envoy of the Shah, bringing to an end a war which had continued intermittently since 1603. The treaty awarded Baghdad to the Ottoman Empire, re-establishing the border between the Safavid and Ottoman empires that had been fixed at the Treaty of Amasya in 1555. Murad IV died in 1640, with a reputation as the Sultan who had restored order to the empire and who, through the Yerevan and Baghdad campaigns, had restored Ottoman military glory. His successor Ibrahim, by contrast, was to acquire the epithet the Mad and Abbas. He was Murad's sole surviving brother and had suffered, it seems, from the terrors of his early life. From his confinement in the palace, he had witnessed the murder of Osman II, the deposition of Mustafa, and the execution of his brothers Suleiman, Bayezid, and Qasim. It was only, we are told, with difficulty, and after he had viewed his brother's corpse that his mother, Kosum Sultan, and the Grand Vizier, Kemenkesh, the Bowman Mustafa Pasha persuaded him to ascend the throne. Nonetheless, despite his terrors, for the first 4 years of his reign, the empire, effectively under the control of the Grand Vizier, enjoyed a period of stability. In the 1630s, Murad had attempted to restore its military strength by reassigning to fighting men fiefs that no longer supported military services. In the early 1640s, Ibrahim and his Grand Vizier ordered new fiscal surveys and the issue of new coinage in an attempt to stabilize the treasury. The same year saw the ratification of the treaty with Iran and, to the relief of the Austrians at a time of crisis in the 30 Years' War, a renewal of the Treaty of Givetrach. In 1644, however, this period of tranquility came to an end and, with it, the Sultan's mental composure. By this year, the Sultan's personal exorcist, Jinjioha and his allies, Sultan Zaid Mehmed Pasha and Yusuf Pasha, had acquired, apparently with the support of Kosum Sultan, control of appointments to office. In January 1644, they procured the execution of Kemenkesh Mustafa and installed themselves, respectively as military judge of Anatolia, Grand Vizier and Admiral. The coup was the first stage in a crisis.